freshly shaved because the San Diego Padres are in town. Joining us here from Padres.com, Jesse Agler. And Jesse, a lot of folks here know this. My aunt lived out near San Diego State, and I went out there and chased girls in the 80s and the 90s until I got married in this century. And I've got some old Tony Gwynn stuff in the closet. So, it's not often the Padres come to Baltimore. I think it's like the third time ever. So, for that I celebrate, but for that I hurt for where the Padres are at this point. Certainly not where Preller and the gang had this thing headed 18 months ago, right?
No, I mean, it's a totally different year from last year. Obviously they really, exploded onto the off-season scene before the previous season, and everybody was like, oh, they're going for it. And they were, and they gave it a shot, and it didn't work. And so now I think they're sort of recalibrating things. They made some moves in the off-season to start changing course a little bit, and they're continuing to change course as the season goes on.
Well, for this year and the changing of the course, give me the James Shields story. I think, as a guy who roots for the Padres in the National League, I thought they had solved some of their issues last year, and I thought he was going to be a front-of-the-rotation guy. And obviously, hey, as an Oriole guy, I would have loved to see the Orioles go after him. Those are the kinds of moves that the Orioles don't make on pitching. They tend to go on the cheap. That one obviously did not work out well out there.
No, and it's been even more difficult for him since he left, which is really crazy. I mean, look, I think them moving on from James Shields was more about, all right, look, we can get some salary relief. We'll get a couple of prospects back that we'd like. Because we're changing course here, he doesn't necessarily fit into the direction that things are going. I don't think they got rid of him because they thought he was going to be terrible. But he really, really struggled in his couple of starts with the White Sox, and he really, really struggled in his last start with the Padres. I think in his last start in San Diego and his first start with the White Sox, it was the kind of game where a position player came into pitch later in the game. Literally, like that happened in back-to-back starts for him. So I don't think it'll continue to be this bad for James Shields. He's got too much talent for that. But obviously right now it's like a major, major struggle for him. And, it made sense. I get completely why they moved on from that. He was not everything that they expected. He was very solid, though. And I don't want to sound like I'm kicking him on the way out the door. Last year, again, he did 200 innings. He did 200 strikeouts. And to me, that's what James Shields is all about. So he gave you that. This year, until that really bad start, the last one he made before he was traded, he had been really good. His ERA was right around 3. But since then, I mean, it's been really a crazy thing to watch what's happened to him.
Jesse Agler of Miami and now San Diego. You're one of my favorite dudes in media, man. Only guy would say San Diego. I mean, some of us have to pick between like Baltimore and Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Buffalo, but you can follow him out at Jesse Agler on Twitter as well, running around with the Padres and with the All-Star game coming up in a couple of weeks, obviously, and I did my 30 ballparks in 30 days last summer. San Diego is one of my favorite places, and we've had the 5-year anniversary, or 2-year anniversary of the death of Tony Gwynn, which was brutal, and I think for everybody. But the All-Star game is this celebration, right? And it's been a while. I remember the last time the All-Star game was there in '92, and watching on TV and seeing the new ballpark there, and they want to celebrate all of that, and they were getting worked up about it last year. Give me a little, prequel on that, because we're 3 weeks out on that. Obviously, Machado, maybe Tillman, maybe Britton from our side will be out there in San Diego, but from an organizational standpoint, this is something they've been working for a long time out there.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, ever since Petco Park was built, I think they've been sort of waiting their turn for an All-Star game. And this was actually, I think, the All-Star game that was supposed to be in Baltimore.
Well, that was before the Masson lawsuit, and I go through that every day,
exactly.
Jess. I'm the guy that sort of understands how politics works in baseball. Here, the fans just buy the popcorn, and they go out, and if they're in last place or first place, there's not much said. But, this would be the All-Star game. I'm glad you brought that up, because when I bring that up, I sound like a little anti the ownership here. But it won't be lost on me on July 11th, 12th, and 13th, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, so there's definitely a tie in here. But you know this. You've been to all 30 parks. Petco Park is a jewel. And before I moved to San Diego, I don't think I realized how nice it was and how great of a facility it was. And this is my third season in San Diego. The place is totally different than my first year, two seasons ago. They've done so much to upgrade it. They've done so much to really bring it up to speed. I think for the first 9 years that the building was there, they didn't really do anything to it. And it's understandable, right? It's new, it's bright, it's shiny. And, the ownership at the time just sort of let it sit there. Well, this new ownership group came in and they were like, yeah, it's still great, but we got to do some things to kind of make sure that it is maintained and that it's still a state-of-the-art first-class facility for years to come. So, I mean, it was big stuff like the brand new video board that everybody talks about out there. It's gigantic. It was new stuff like a new sound system. They've done some new seating areas, but it was also little things like redoing the floors, and that kind of stuff, and making the bathrooms a little bit nicer. So they've really, built forward towards this All-Star game for so long now, and it's obviously so much more than just the game on Tuesday night. It's a full week of stuff taking place all around San Diego and down, by the way, south of the border into Mexico as well. Really cool, both the Padres and MLB sort of reaching across the border to bring the All-Star to Mexico. So, I mean, it's a big-time regional event. There's great charity stuff. There's great stuff for kids all over the area. And then, of course, it all culminates, with the Home Run Derby on Monday and then the game on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, you being sort of an outsider coming into San Diego, I mean, I've been coming out there for, way more than half of my life and seeing the Chargers, and my aunt was a Chargers fan, and going out to the Murph when Tony Gwynn was there and all of those years and Bruce Bochy was running around. I think there's part of the region there with the Chargers that almost lost the football team. It really creates, I think, and again, I'm from Baltimore. I was here when the Colts left. One of the things when the Colts left was appreciating the Orioles and getting Camden Yards built. I would think there's something about the Padres there that it really does feel like the Chargers have slapped everybody around there for a long period of time, that the Padres are the one place, and I know there's still 15 years later a lot of conjecture about the stadium being started and then stopped downtown and how they got theirs before the Chargers. But I think the Padres are more appreciated there, and I think part of that would be the statue out in the outfield and Tony Gwynn and that organization there that's been a little truer to the fans than maybe the Chargers have been in recent times.
Yeah, I think there might be something to that, but also I think fans of the Padres got really excited a year ago, and, they were like, oh, this is a new era. They thought the page had been completely turned, I think, from an era of not spending and an era of not competing, really, except for little blips here and there, to one where they were going to be full throttle all the time. And that's just not realistic, and that wasn't the case. They went full throttle last year, but at the same time, they started restocking their farm system, and I think they knew all along in the front office that, all right, if this plan doesn't work at the big league level in 2015, we're still going to do things to build for the future. Now, the way 2016 started accelerated all of that, right? And so it's a little bit less of attention on the major league side, although there's still some really good talent, and Will Myers is blossoming into the guy that I think everybody thought he would be when he was the American League Rookie of the Year 4 years ago or 3 years ago. But he's part of it. He's leading it. But I think the fans right now are sort of turning and looking and saying, all right, well, what else is going to happen here trade-wise? Shields just left. Okay, he was a big name. We knew him. One big name or guy. Two are moved at some point in the near future. So I think the fans generally are like, okay, what's going on with that? But you're right. There's no distrust when it comes to their existence. And that's obviously such a big thing in sports. You just need to know that they're going to be there. I thought the comment you made a few minutes ago about the All-Star game in Baltimore, and hey, most fans, yeah, it's bringing the popcorn, it's coming to sit down, it's enjoying it. It doesn't matter if the team is 50-25 or 25-50. I think that's true for a lot of people, not everybody, of course. But, the main thing is you need it to be a family-friendly environment. You need it to be like an affordable entertainment option. They've got great food at Petco Park. They've got great beer, all that kind of thing. And people know that the Padres are going to be there. That every other week, basically, throughout the entire summer, if I want to go to a game, I can. And there is a trust with that, which is obviously a huge deal compared to what's going on with the football team.
Yeah, well, every other week for 5 years, the Chargers have been threatening to leave and tried really hard to leave, and were clearly really disappointed when they weren't allowed to leave. So, all of that says to me that if I lived there, I'd probably feel a little closer to the Padres, and it would have been a good time for them to ramp up and try to win. We're chatting with Jesse Agler, who covers all things Padres at Padres.com. He is in town for this quick series, and, of course, the Orioles will be out in San Diego eating some fish tacos and hanging out down there at Petco Park. The Ron Fowler, he hasn't said hey, we put us, well, you're in last place.
As big doesn't necessarily go out there, that aren't the right things, which this is before.
And look at Cleveland. I mean, look at all the fun they're having there this week. They get to finally say they as a guy who has fast for football. Tell me about Andy Green real quick before we roll in some of the players, and obviously the closer situation there. Everyone would like to have a situation where their closer hasn't given up a run heading into July, right?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Rodney's been outstanding. Literally a 0.00 ERA here. I mean, it's crazy. He came out the other day, And look, the bad thing is the Padres haven't gotten him enough saves because they haven't had enough save situations. But, he comes out the other day and, they had a 3-run lead on the Nationals. They were trying to take 2 straight from Washington after losing the first of the series. Guys look silly. And as you know, those two things don't always. And he didn't think he was going to get drafted. He didn't think he was going to have any shot to play professionally. But he ends up getting drafted. And he ends up having this sort of up and down minor league, major league career. He's a career 200 hitter, and he gets into coaching pretty much right away. Tony La Russa saw something in him in the Arizona organization and promoted him a couple of times there. He's very close with Chip Hale, who managed him when he was in the minor leagues. So we've got a couple of guys to sort of lean on and mentor in the last couple of years in that organization. And then he comes here, and I've never seen a manager more prepared for anything in my life. Mark McGwire is his bench coach. And Mark McGwire, I think, is going to be a manager of the big league sometime for the next 5 years. I do. And you talk to Mark McGwire about Andy Green, and he just shakes his head and laughs. He goes, I've never seen somebody that many steps ahead in the dugout before. I remember who McGwire played.
Yeah, he was around La Russa a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oakland and St. Louis. I mean, he shakes his head. He's like, it's unbelievable. He's like, he knows every little thing that could possibly happen, and Andy just has such great command of the situation. And look, with a veteran team, it's going to be different than with a young team, and, you got to sort of pull different levers with different guys, and I think he's got a great handle on that as well. This is a guy that is going to have success as a manager. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind right now, and it's been awesome to be around him every day. I couldn't have anything better to say about the guy.
While some teams have marketing problems and issues, and I remember the Padres were one of the first ones to do a military look. Look, man, the Orioles were this. There's some serious.
And everybody looks the same on Mother's Day. Everybody looks the same on Father's Day. Everybody looks the same on the 4th of July. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But MLB did a great job with these warm-up uniforms for the All-Star Game, and you mentioned the hats. And, I think people like you and I who are really into that kind of stuff, we know about them now. But probably 90% of the people who will be watching the Home Run Derby and watching, batting practice during the All-Star Game aren't aware yet that those exist necessarily, even though they've been all over Twitter and Facebook and everything like that. And people are going to lose their minds.
They're pimp. I'm looking at it right now. I want to tell people about it and say, go Google it because, it's pretty pimp. If I don't get one of those yellow American warm-ups, I'm going to be out with my credit card, Visa, MasterCharge. I'm going to buy something. Welcome to Baltimore. I know it's a short stay. We'll be back out there next week. Keep some fish tacos laying around for us, and we'll send everybody out to check you out on Twitter. Keep up the good work out there. I follow along.
All right, Nestor. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Jesse Agler joining us here from Padres.com with the Padres in town very, very briefly. And the Orioles still trying to figure out who's going to be pitching through the week and waiting for the off day on Thursday that they need after jumping off of planes and on the planes and going to Dallas and having the bases loaded with nobody out and not scoring runs. That's kind of the way it goes. But welcome the Padres to town. What's the Bruce Springsteen, a pretty little cafe in San Diego way where they strum guitars all night and all day. You can find me out on the internet, on Facebook, Twitter. We're also streaming on Facebook Live. Appreciate so many folks checking that out, as well as at WNST-V on YouTube. You can find me nasty at WNST.net. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, and anywhere else internet sports thoughts from Baltimore folks are found. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we know